in order to keep his rebellious daughter under his control. The father decided to imprison her and soon came up with the idea of deliberately distracting his wife and then pretending to ask his daughter to help him carry something. But when they carried the stuff to the basement, Lena realized that there was a hidden door behind the bookshelves. She felt a little strange, but after all, the other party is her father. Did not think too much, however. It is this innate trust that led her to fall into the abyss. Not waiting for Lena to react, David quickly went out and closed the door of the secret room. Seeing her father locked herself in the room, Lena desperately shouted. But the specially modified steel door was too thick to hear any sound from the outside. Lena was so scared that she didn't know what to do. She thought her father was just trying to punish her for a few days at most, until she opened the box her father had asked her to carry and found that it was full of her own belongings. Then she realized that her father had planned all this, and instantly a wave of fear came from the bottom of her heart. After screaming at the top of her lungs, she tries to unlock the door, but David clearly won't give her a chance to escape. Even if she gets the code wrong 3 times, the power goes out automatically. Lena then took out a light and looked around and found a ventilation duct in the corner. She shouted for help into the vent to make sure her mother upstairs could hear her. However, when David heard the noise, he hurriedly blocked the duct with a blanket so that no matter how much Lena shouted inside, she would not hear anything outside. Until the next day at noon, her mother saw that Lena had not returned home, so she chose to call the police. But the police investigated. All of Lena's friends said that they had never seen her. At this point, David began to deliberately reveal to the police that Lena always wanted to run away from home, and this time all her luggage disappeared. Maybe it was a long plan. The policeman immediately realized that he had handled many similar cases and that the children usually came back on their own. So he asked the mother to wait at home without fear. So David managed to get rid of the police, and then he went to the basement, and Lisa heard the noise outside the door and immediately hid behind a pillar, and then suddenly rushed out and knocked David down before he closed the door. But she could not have imagined that there was another code in soundproofing outside. Lena failed to escape and cried in the corner in despair. From that moment on, she never had a father in her life again. When David confronted Lena's boyfriend, he told him that his daughter had run away with a gangster 2 days ago, and that he should never think of or look for his daughter again. The innocent boy left with a face full of disappointment, thinking he had been betrayed. On the 38th day of her captivity, Lena ate cold canned food as usual, but then she suddenly realized that the lid of the can was very sharp, and she touched the edge of the lid and her heart flamed with hope. When her father came over again, she pretended to be a good girl and stood in the doorway, but in fact she had already made an improvised weapon and was ready to strike David when he was relaxed. But he was already prepared for it. A year passed, and the cottage, which had only had a shower, was now full to overflowing, and she had gone from a young girl to a pregnant woman in her 10th month of pregnancy. Soon another 4 years passed. Her mother was still worried about Lena's safety, but the police had no clues. She wanted to hire a private investigator, but the family's money was in David's hands, and every time he mentioned it, David would get angry, saying he didn't want to waste the money. And her mother, who didn't know, couldn't do anything about it. At this time, the basement is also like a small family. David every day between the two families to play different roles.